Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. As always, we appreciate you being here. We got lots to talk about since the last time we got together. We've got injury issues on the left side of that defense. We've got a Shane Pinto contract. We've got a Brady Tkachuk injury update and much more. First of all, let's say hello to the coach, Greg Kennedy. How are things, Greg?
Things are great, Stephen. It's Grey Cup Sunday as we sit down to record this. I know you're a Saski fan at heart, so I will side with you and go green.
Yeah, it goes back to my dad's love of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. My birth year, they ended a very long Grey Cup drought. And I don't want to tell you what year that is. I don't want to age myself any more than my face is already doing. Yeah, he used to tell me that he had me propped up on pillows to watch Saskatchewan beating Ottawa in the Grey Cup way back when. And from that day forward, I was pretty much a Saskatchewan fan. Kind of put that on hold when I'm doing Ottawa sports radio for the better part of 20 years. But yeah, I'm kind of easing back into my love of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, along with my fondness for the Ottawa Red Blacks as well. So you get some cheering for the Green Riders.
Do you have green cords then?
I do not have green cords. No, I don't think I've ever been as superstitious. The other thing about it is that Saskatchewan was very bad through my entire childhood. So, yeah, it goes back to Ron Lancaster days and stuff.
But those were good.
They were bad.
George Reed and Ronnie Lancaster. They had some players then, but just were never very good, right?
Yeah, and they were both retiring when I was just getting right into things. And from that point forward, late 70s onward, they were bad for a very long time till they finally won a Grey Cup in 1989. So my dad and I love that one as well. Anyway, let's get to some Sens talk. Hope you enjoy the Grey Cup Sunday, everybody. And the game may be over by the time this podcast is out there, but we'll see. I'm always going on about how how short the shelf life is of these shows. It's madness. I tell you, madness. But let's start with Shane Pinto. I think that's probably the big news in the big picture. Shane Pinto got a 4-year contract worth $30 million, and Steve Staios kind of alluded to it maybe being close. If you watch his Monday availability, he had a wry smile when asked about Shane Pinto and the status of a possible extension. And sure enough, it wasn't that long after Monday's news conference where the news broke that Shane Pinto got his new contract. Let's first begin with you. What do you think of 4 years at $30 million? And I'll even put the sort of part two of the question in that, is that the right number for a guy who really isn't that much beyond 1 point every, like say, I think he's a 0.6 points per game average to this point. So that's not necessarily the kind of statistics anyway that you'd see a guy making over $7 million a year for.
I think both sides probably wanted a little more, of different things. I honestly think this is one of those rare contracts where it's good for both sides. The Senators buy up 2 years of free agency and sign him to 4 at a decent dollar amount. The player's got to be happy because at what age is he going to be? He's a free agent in 4 years and can really cash in, assuming he continues on the arc he's on. As far as the points production go and what you're going to pay him, he's only getting better. He's gotten better and better. And his type of game to me, seems to be, I don't want to say slump proof, but what's the word? It's regression proof. Like, it doesn't seem like he's not the type of player. He doesn't play the type of game that's suddenly going to be bad, right? I can't see him getting worse. I can only see him at least maintaining or getting better and better and better. His numbers have shown that he's gotten better and better as he's been a member here with Ottawa. I think it's a great deal all around. Senators are probably wanted more, but they're happy. Pinto probably wanted more, but he's happy. And I think that pretty much wraps it up right there. Both sides are happy. That's a good deal all around.
There are pain points for both sides, like you say. I think you ideally would like to buy up more free agency years if you're the Senators. They got to buy up 2 of them. But it's not just about what the Sens want. Shane Pinto, on the other hand, he knows what's happening like every NHL player does. The salary cap is going up and the salaries are skyrocketing right now. So he wants to be part of the group. He likes the group. I think everybody in that room feels like there's something special bubbling here. But at the same time, you don't want to, miss out on this skyrocketing salaries. Because just think about the way Drake Batherson's feeling about the world right now. At the time, he got a set for life contract at almost $5 million a year, but now he's the club's leading scorer. That may not be true over the last couple of games, but he's been for most of the season the club's leading scorer. And here he is not making $5 million. He's below $5 million, and he's certainly going to get probably in the range of 8 in his next one. And that's probably how Shane Pinto is going to feel by year 3 of this contract if he continues that trajectory. And I think we can talk about it from a media standpoint or from a fan standpoint and say, okay, that's probably going to be a great deal for the Senators. But if I'm Michael Andlauer and I'm actually paying it, I'm still going like this a little bit. I hope it's going to keep going the way it does, because I can't help but notice at the same time, he got off to an amazing start with 8 goals to lead the NHL for a while. He scored on the day of his contract signing, but that was his only goal, I think, in the last, I want to say eight or 9 games now.
Right.
Yeah. So that's, that shows a potential to go cold. But I really like the player. I like the character that he is. I think he's great in the room. He's just one of those guys the other guys just love to make laugh. So he's a great teammate. He's a great two-way player. And my only question mark is exactly what is the ceiling to his offense? Is he a point-a-game guy? If he is, then this is a steal. But if he's well below that, I start going, I don't know. If Cousins and Stützle are going to be your point producers, that may get a little rich for their blood. But I feel like because the salaries are doing what they're doing, even $7 million isn't going to be a king's ransom by NHL standards within 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Like it's not necessarily what he's producing at now versus what he's paid. It's in 3 and 4 years from now, with the rise in the salary cap, does a 25 goal, 65 point a year player, is he worth $7 million? And I think that's what's going to bear out to be true. That's probably the case in a few years from now. So that, yeah, he'll be okay, because I think that a player who produces more than him is going to be worth, 9, 10, right? You bring up Drake Batherson. He's your only real offensive guy. In this, Stützle and Batherson are really the only that you would view as being, wow, these guys are offensive guys. Pinto's not that type of player. So comparing the two can prove difficult. If anything, Batherson obviously deserves to make more because of the offensive production he can bring. If he's a 30-goal scorer, he deserves more, and that's going to be a tough contract in, 2 years? Yeah, it's either 1 or 2 more years till Batherson comes up. So that's the next one, probably, or Chabot. Those are the next 2, right? But I think Batherson at 7.5 is about right for what he's going to be in 4 years. And yeah, you're right. You got to bite the bullet on it now, thinking maybe he's not really worth that now, but that's what the market bears. That's what the situation calls for. And that's what they ended up having to give him. And I really think in big picture, they're okay with it. I really think both sides should be happy here.
Yeah. It's getting to a stage where just, you can see a point where just not a minimum wage guy. That minimum wage is always going to be minimum wage, where you're basically one of those players that, could either be in the AHL or the NHL. That player, is still, that minimum wage isn't going to change much. But the guy in the tier above that, I think we all need to get our head around the idea that that's now going to be a $2.5 to $4 million a year player. So when we look at Fabian Zetterlund and we say, oh man, the points aren't there. The points ever going to come for this guy? He's making over $4 million a year. That's really, again, it's going to have to be a mind shift for fans, realizing that that's not going to be a tremendous amount of money by NHL standards, of course. For the average Joe, it's a ton of money. But for the average NHL player, or even below average one, that's not going to be tremendously out of line. But we'll see how things go with Shane Pinto. I think it's a great deal, and well done by the Sens. A little give and take on both sides, like you were talking about. Now let's move on to the left side of the defense. That's become a big issue because on Tuesday of this week, Thomas Chabot went down with an injury. I think it happened on a hit from Colin Blackwell of the Dallas Stars. He's not a big forward for the Stars, and he runs Chabot into the boards where there's no glass in front of the Stars bench, and it looked like Chabot went in with his lower back kind of on the hard edge on the top of the boards, into the lower back or the rib area maybe, And he tried to come out for the second period, could not, and called it a night. And Bruce Garriock from Post Media saying that he's hearing, 2 weeks, maybe longer, which now sets things up on what's to be done with the left side of the defense. Do they have enough left side defensive depth, and how will they handle it if the answer is no?
Well, I'm sure they've already been looking around and calling everybody in the league in what may have started out as shopping for some depth on the left side may have been upgraded now that they're looking for somebody who can play in the top four on the left side. Obviously, a lot will depend on how Matt and Paolo performs playing on his left. A lot will depend on the continued maturation of Tyler Kleven. I don't know that there's anybody else in the current lineup that you'd want to put on the left side. I don't think so. Obviously, they don't want to put Spence over there. They don't even really like him all that much on the right side, or they don't like him enough, in my opinion. I don't know that Jensen's not the guy. So I think Matt and Paolo's probably the only guy. There's nobody really. Probably the best guy playing in Belleville isn't even on an NHL contract. So you're in a tough spot here. They lost Sabrango. That hurts. So yeah, I'm sure they're shopping. They're looking. They're trying to find somebody who can play the left side for them, and hopefully they can find something. I mean, assuming they need something. I mean, we really haven't got a official update on the timeline for Chabot's return, but we all knew that this was an issue. We just thought it was an issue as far as depth was concerned. But when you lose one of the top ones, it's not necessarily a depth issue now. It's like we need somebody who can play the top four on the left side. Maybe that becomes a bigger need for this management group in the next week or two.
In Monday's snippets of Staios, Staios did talk about the left side of the D. He was asked specifically about it, and here's what he had to say.
How do you feel about your depth on the left side of defense right now?
We feel good about I think depth is always, I think if you ask every other general manager, you're always wanting to expand your depth on the left side. I think, Sabrango going on waivers hurts the depth on the left side, but we certainly have players that are in Belleville that continue to work. And then we also have the option of some of our rights that can play on the left side as well. So overall, I think we feel fine about our depth. But we'll continue to explore that market.
So there's GM Steve Staios in conversation with the media, and as it happens, that was one day before Thomas Chabot got injured. So he did say that he's fine with how things are on the left side of the D. That was before Chabot, but he also acknowledged in there that the loss of Sabrango did hurt the depth because Sabrango would be tailor-made to things right now. Do you think there's any answers in Belleville for starters?
Well, it looks like the left side is Donovan, Hamara, and Harrington, right? Harrington's on an AHL contract. I don't know that either Donovan or Hamara are ready to come up here. I mean, is it a Lassie Thompson and you move him to the other side? Yeah, it's tough, right? And then you still got Max Gwinnett out there that they could maybe can you move him for a pick from somebody and use that pick and something else to find a left D? Like it's not exactly the right time of year to be making deals either. Most teams are still trying to figure things out. You're probably another couple weeks before it gets into trading time. So they're they got to find something, and I don't think there's anything in Belleville that's going to help when really all you're talking about is a 6D, right? Like a 6D who can play the left side. I think probably Matt and Paolo's their best option, and that's what they went with against LA.
Yeah, I think any other option could have been done.
Right.
The injury to Chabot happened on Tuesday, so if they had aspirations of bringing someone up from Belleville, they might have done so. I do think that their preference is having guys on their natural side. You think back to the start of the year, Greg, and what they did when Tyler Kleven got hurt. They brought in Sabrango. Mm-hmm. Sabrango was the guy who came in for Kleven, even though Jordan Spence was sitting right there, the guy everybody was so excited about after his acquisition from the Kings last summer. So they didn't want Spence to play on his offside necessarily. They instead brought in a guy who was a fringe NHLer at that stage in Sabrango to play his natural side. So clearly, I think that's their first priority. They'd like to do that. And I don't think they're in love with the idea of Matt and Paolo, a guy with 56 career NHL games playing on his wrong side. It's looked okay so far. I mean, they only gave up one goal against the LA Kings the other night. So I don't think that's their first preference, though, having said that. Harrington's a possibility, I suppose. The guy was just brought in mid-October, and that was 5 days before Sabrango got placed on waivers. So that would tell you that they were already thinking about left shot defensive depth when they brought Harrington in. He's a guy who's played 250 NHL games, mostly for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I have to think that he would have been called up by now if they had that idea in the back of their head, but it's still out there as a possibility because they're going on a 7-game road trip. And if Bruce is right and he's going to be missing 2 weeks, maybe more, that's going to take him out of at least the first half of that road trip. And if they want somebody to play on their natural side, I guess Harrington could be a possibility because you need an extra body when you're going out on the West Coast in case somebody wakes up after their pregame nap and has the flu or something. You got to have somebody ready to roll.
It'll be interesting. We'll get a clue here, right? Who are they going to bring with them on the trip? They got to bring another guy with them on the trip. So we'll wait and see who they bring on the trip. But again, remember, Harrington is signed to an AHL deal. He's not signed to an NHL deal. So it's going to be Harrington. The first thing they'd have to do is sign him to an NHL contract. Then they can bring him. So that's why I'm thinking, money-wise, is that something they want to do? Or will they just say, hey, Lassie, come on, you're on the road with us. Maybe it's just Thompson. And that's, another right shot, but at least it's a guy with some NHL games under his belt. But somebody will have to get called up to go on the trip, and that will be a big indicator of what their plans are long-term.
Yeah. I still think I think they'll still go lefty because I just can't see them going with 5 righties and 2 lefties on the road. Not ideal, but in all likelihood, the guy who goes on the trip is going to be eating popcorn in the press box.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be an issue, but you have to be ready for every possibility. I suppose Donovan could be in that mix as well. He's had a good start to the season. I was talking to somebody down in Belleville who sees the games, and he says the quote was on Harrington, pretty steady. And there's not really an issue with the AHL contract. If they want him, they clearly like him, or they wouldn't have brought him in last month after the season started. If they want to do it, they can, because I looked at it on Puckpedia. Of the 50 contracts they're allowed, they only have 43 guys signed right now, and they have like about $4 million in $3 or $4 million in cap room. So there's if they want to do it, they can.
Of course.
Hockey season is finally here. This is where fans show their colors. The cheers, the rivalries, and the late night games. But your home should be part of the game too. Control your lights from anywhere with a phone or a tablet. With Celebrate Permanent Lighting, you can show off your team's colors all season long. Celebrate every win and stand out every season with Celebrate Permanent Holiday Lighting.
Once again, Greg, we want to welcome our great new sponsor, Midas. You can find your favorite location at Midas.com.
We talked last week, last show, Steve, about the buy 3, get 1 free on the Nexen tires. These guys sell every kind of tire, from the low grade to the high grade, any tire you like. But the best part is, no matter what tire you buy, you get a lifetime warranty on this sucker, right? If you get a flat, all you got to do is go into Midas, anywhere in North America. If they can repair it, they'll repair it for free. If they can't repair it, they'll replace it, Steve. Brand new tire, free of charge. All you got to do is pay for somebody to install it. So I'm saying this time of year, it's the right time of year. Get into Midas, get your tires. Orleans, Bank Street, Bronson, Bell's Corners, Gatineau. Hit up a Midas and get some new tires.
Let's move on to Brady Tkachuk. Brady Tkachuk on his new podcast that he's doing with his brother, Matthew. It's called Wingmen, and it's done by the same podcast company that has New Heights with the Kelsey brothers that is out of control popular, getting like guests like Taylor Swift. How did they pull that one off? Leo DiCaprio is on it, all the big stars, both from a Hollywood or sports perspective. And that show's going gangbusters. I think the Kelsey brothers are splitting $100 million over the next 3 years. So safe to say it's doing well. I don't think the Tkachuk brothers will be at that level anytime soon, but I thought it was this. Before we talk about Tkachuk and his injury situation and his statement on the podcast, what do you think of the idea of an all Tkachuk podcast?
Well, of course, the most interesting thing here is these are 2 active NHL players. they could be getting into a lot of trouble. They better be careful and do some serious editing, because you could easily see also the characters of the two of them, the personalities of them. You could see one or both or every show somebody saying something that maybe the NHL won't be happy about. So I think they better be careful about what they have to say, both being active players, right? That's scary.
I think Gary Bettman will probably have his people all over that in the editing room. That won't do. That won't do. That won't do. Because you're right. They're both extremely boisterous, fun-loving brothers, and I could easily see them getting into a say-anything mindset if left unchecked. So I think that will be a highly edited and highly well-produced show, and anything offside is not going to make its way through. I'm firmly convinced of that. I don't know it to be for sure, but seeing the way Gary Bettman operates, I do not think that he'll let them let it fly. Now, meanwhile, in the podcast episode, their pilot one, their very first one this week, Brady Tkachuk talked about where he's at with his injury. Matthew kind of led him into it, but he agreed with it. This is Matthew Tkachuk. He basically makes a statement. So you're like a couple of weeks away, right? And then and Brady said, yeah. And this thing had to be recorded. The first episode was this past Thursday. And so it was recorded at least 48 hours before that. And so you start thinking about the math, okay, and then you got the Sens with 5 days off before they start this road trip. I could easily see Brady Tkachuk getting into the lineup pretty early in this potential West Coast trip.
Yeah, it'll definitely be before the end of the month. I would think he's ready to go. He skated with the team the other day. He's stick handling, so the hand appears to be coming along nicely. Was the original projection 6 to 8? Is that what it was? I don't even remember now. 6 to 8 puts 6 to 8 puts you in the time frame of late November, and it couldn't happen soon enough. The team's hot. They're playing very well despite this 1-goal loss to LA yesterday. They've been top 2 or 3 team in the league over the course of the 3 weeks prior. It'd be real nice to have him back in the lineup and settle some things down and rearrange some of the who's playing with who kind of thing. Yeah, he can't come back soon enough, I'm sure, as far as he's concerned, but also as far as the coaching staff's concerned, they probably can't wait to have him back in the lineup. And if it means 2 weeks, awesome. 2 weeks is perfect.
So, courtesy of the Wingmen podcast, the new podcast featuring Brady and Matthew Tkachuk, here's the exchange they had about Brady's injury status and the timelines of things, and get a load of how Brady sounds when he starts talking about his first time stick handling. He sounded like a kid on Christmas morning.
If you're skating without pucks, first of all, it's the worst thing ever, but you better be dialed in.
No, it's not the worst thing ever. It's torture. Like, it sucks. Like on Thursday, I'm going to be 4 weeks post surgery, and luckily with this surgery, I was able to skate 6 days after. So I've been going probably 4 times a week the last 3 weeks, and it's been great. I got no stick, no pucks. I did 21 reps of
no excitement.
No, there's tons of excitement. There's tons of jam.
Like, maybe on skate 1, but like, I don't know. If I'm skating, I don't know. I don't agree with you on that one.
Hey, the dog days? I'm in the dog days of being injured right now. It sucks.
So you're probably back in a couple weeks. You'll be dialed in.
Yeah, no, I was able to actually stick handle last night in the shooting room. My first time. Just hands felt good too. Like, they felt good. I was happy with them. And then, now I'm just able to, stick handle on the ice now. And I'm really hoping come Friday, I'll be able to skate with the guys as a shadow, as I just still work on my hands. I'll probably be able to shoot
a shadow, Brady, like skate around them as they're doing like a 3-on-2, like behind them.
No, 5-man breakouts. Like, I'm just trailing.
Oh,
I'm just getting gap.
So there's Brady and Matthew Tkachuk on the Wingman podcast. And I do think that show does have a lot of legs. I think you've got 2 characters who, well-spoken, fun-loving, and you can see they like to needle each other a little. I'll be keen to see how they pull it off with the interview process, because the Kelceys, I'm amazed at how well they've done at the interviewing process. To see Jason Kelce, some of the questions he was asking of Leo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro when they came on, and they almost never do podcasts. He did a really good job. So I don't know where the Tkachuks are with their interviewing skills, but episode 1 I thought was really good. I don't know if you saw the whole thing or not, or just clips, but I think it's got tremendous possibilities. And the guys at Wave and Wondery, I think they're combined in terms of the production of this thing. I think that was a very wise decision going down this road.
Yeah, I look forward to it, adding it to my list of regular podcasts I need to listen to every week. It's right up there now.
Yeah, and it's good for all podcasters who are in the sporting realm, particularly the NHL ones like ours, and that it continues to be, even at this late stage in the evolution of podcasts, and I'm sure you encounter this once in a while when you talk to people. I still deal with people who would be viewers here on YouTube or listening here in our audio platforms. They still ask the question, what is a podcast?
Yeah, right.
How do I even listen to that or see that? And which is, it's an ongoing education process. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the show, please share it out and get the word out to folks, because the more it's out there, the better we do, and we can do more shows even as we move forward here if you're enjoying what you're hearing. Some nonsense issues. Nonsense?
Nonsense.
Anyway.
Ian Mendes.
It's another podcast. Podcast there. Yeah, Ian Mendes doing a new podcast with the Senators, and that's definitely got an inside slant to things.
It's got a pretty good track on stuff
for the team. Yeah, exactly. No, it's pretty good. It really is. And I mean, how do you beat, like, minutes after they officially signed Shane Pinto? You have Steve Stais and Shane Pinto are your guests, like minutes after. The ink's not even dry on Pinto's contract, for goodness sake.
The Sanderson episode was really good, too. The Stützle episode, that was all right. The Sanderson episode was very good. I enjoy that one, too. I admit I watch and listen to a lot of podcasts.
Oh, same here. And that one's good because, when we have players on here, there's a little bit of edge, right? They want to make sure they don't say the wrong thing every time the guys go on that particular podcast. They know they're in a safe place. So while you're not going to get groundbreaking stuff in terms of news breaking things, you will get them letting their hair down, feeling safe, and all is good. So that, like a Jake Sanderson, for example, who's quite stoic with the media in general, kind of gives you just the A, B, and C. When he's feeling comfortable with Ian Mendes and Jackson Starr, he's able to let his hair down a little bit and give you X, Y, and Z as well, which has been kind of a neat thing. So I agree with you. That was a good episode. Anyway, enough plugs for other Senator podcasts. Let's move on with things. How about Zdeno Chara getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame this week? I thought that was great. And, I mean, all I feel is regret that the Sens couldn't hang on to that guy, and what the future or what the past might have looked like if the guy was going in as an Ottawa Senator. The guy had played his entire career with the Senators. That's the one thing, but nothing but admiration for the person and the player, and a well-deserved honor for the former Senator this week.
Yep, I agree with everything you just said. There are people out there saying, "Oh, they chose the wrong one." When they chose Redden over Chara. Well, that wasn't the case at all. To me, anyway, it was not a one or the other. It was like Chara wanted out. He wanted to move on. He wanted to have his own team and run his own show somewhere else. And I think that played into it. That and the fact that Peter Chiarelli had gone from his agent to the GM in Boston in about a 6-month period there. So that kind of played into it as well. That he had a relationship with Peter Chiarelli when he left Ottawa. Chiarelli was the GM in Boston at that point, and it's a shame that he left, but yes, well deserved. So now the question is, Steve, who's the next former Senator who might get a sniff at the Hall of Fame? And I'm almost thinking, I don't know that there is one.
You got a bunch of guys that could go in under the Ring of Honor, but Hall of Fame, retired jerseys, not seeing it.
No.
And like I say, yeah, Claude Giroux, I still think of him as a Philadelphia Flyer in the big picture when you're talking about Hall of Fame candidacy. But yeah, he still might have a couple more years the way he is playing. How well is Claude Giroux playing in these last 2 weeks in particular? He just seems to have found another gear. I was starting to think, early in the season that maybe we're starting to see a slight decline, but man, he just seemed to have something's, I don't know, woke up one morning and decided, my competitive fire is still that of a 25-year-old man. Let's effing go.
Yeah.
Right. Are you seeing that with Giroux too?
Exactly. It's one of the easiest coach cliches in the business. One of your best players has gone down. Coach, what do you think? And 95% of the time, the coach is going to say, "Oh, I think it's an opportunity for some of the other guys to step up." And here's Claude Giroux. Step up and step up he did, and he has, and is producing better than last year, which is a bonus unto itself. But yeah, I think he's probably one of those guys who felt a bit of a challenge with Brady out to have to produce some more, and he's done the job. It's wonderful to see, and he's buying himself into another deal again for next year if he wants to stick around again. Right? He signed that really nice team friendly sort of deal for this season, and I'm sure he's going to do it again next year. He looks great. It's been nice to see.
Yeah, and I think it even further galvanizes my belief that he will be in the Hall of Fame because, if he petered out this season, his numbers, he's in the discussion for sure. But I don't know if he's slam dunk. I'd still feel like about 70, 80% that he gets in. But if he's going to insist on being an awesome player for another 2 or 3 more years, that would remove all doubt. So I like to see it. It's great. But back to the Zdeno Chara portion of things, just to wrap up that discussion, I may have talked about this a long time ago. I'm not sure, but Chara, I spoke about Chara and his exit at the time with a very high-placed member of the Ottawa Senators organization. And someday I'll tell you who it was if we're still doing the podcast in a few. But it was a good conversation, and he basically said that when it came to things with Chara, you're quite right. It wasn't really an and/or thing, Redden and Chara. They basically came to Chara and said, "What's it going to take?" And they basically, their camp came back and said, "Well, tell you what, give us your offer, and we'll put it with the others on July 1st." He didn't close the door on the notion.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's hometown discounts, but then there's also, you're just another team to me. And I think, while this executive didn't tell me this part of it, I think that there was a player alienated by what happened to one of his best friends in Marian Hossa within the year before, where Hossa got, I think it was a 6-year contract at the time from John Muckler, signed it in good faith, excited to be a Senator, excited to be with his teammate and friend Zdeno Chara, and Muckler, within, I think, a day, turned around and traded him to Atlanta in the Danny Heatley deal. And Hossa has spoken about it since and how blindsided he felt by it. And I think that contract and that situation is a large part of why we have no movement clauses now today in the NHL, and that players don't want to sign these deals and get moved the next day and just be treated like a commodity. And so Chara, I think, at that stage of the game, he realized the business it was, and that's, I think, why the Sens became just another team to him. He never closed the door on the idea, but he said, "Just give us your offer. We'll put it with the others on July 1st. And again, that's what a high-ranking Senators executive told me back when Chara left the team.
Perfect. So, yes, he wanted out, and he was getting out, however you want to word it.
Yeah. Agreed. Finally, let's wrap things up today with a discussion that's been a hot-button issue for Sens fans and hockey fans across Canada, and that is the Olympics, which will be on us before we know it. Christmas will be here before we know it, then the World Juniors, and then in February, it'll be the Olympics. And so sometime in and around the holidays, they're likely to name the Canadian Olympic roster. And for a lot of the 2025 calendar year, there's been discussion about, since they brought back all the executive and all the coaching staff and basically everybody lock, stock, and barrel from 4 nations last February, maybe they'll do the same thing with the players roster. And then a whole bunch of Canadian players have come out of the gate like gangbusters to start the NHL season. And at the top of that list are 2 kids in Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini. But there's other guys too, that weren't on 4 nations. Like Mark Scheifele, Wyatt Johnson. These guys are off to amazing statistical starts and pounding on the Team Canada door. How much change do you believe there'll be from Four Nations last year?
I think at least 3, maybe 4 players in the core lineup. Don't forget they can bring a couple extras too. I think there'll be at least 3 or 4. I think Suzuki is probably in. I think Scheifele gets a lot of talk. I think even Nazem Kadri gets some consideration. On the outs, I don't know about Travis Konechny. Drew Doughty's probably not going to be back. But the big question, I guess, is
especially if he hurt himself last night.
Exactly, that's what I meant. He probably isn't going to be back anyway, and then he takes a shot off the foot there. I think that obviously the big conversation, the big point is the guys like Celebrini and Bedard and maybe even Schaefer. Schaefer is a no. I don't care what he does. He's not going to make that team. I think out of Celebrini and Bedard, I think they could probably only afford to bring one. You need to have, it sounds wrong, but veterans' presence means something. Older guys, experienced guys that have won. Like, we just finished talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame and how they seem to put emphasis on if you won, you get into the Hockey Hall of Fame. No, not necessarily true, and it's not all that important to be a Hall of Famer. But I think in this case, in these types of events, this type of tournament, the Olympics, I think it's ultra important. Guys that have won, guys that have been in the pressure cooker, stepped up, performed, and succeeded. Those guys, that's an extra ace, an extra card for those guys, an extra trump for those guys who are under consideration. If you've been somewhere and you've won a Stanley Cup or an Olympics, a World Cup, a World Junior, a World Championship, anything, I think factors into these decisions. And I think that will hurt. That'll hurt the chances for both of Celebrini and Bedard being there. I think 1, maybe 2, no way. What do you think?
I'd like to see them both be there. I think they're uncommon young talents. Bedard, just from the perspective of, even if you use him as a specialist out there with a scenario where you're on the power play, like that guy's release, it's not just one of the elites. It may be the elite, the way he can, with just absolutely no real estate, just a quick little toe drag and release. It might be better than Auston Matthews, which I thought was the best. And then Bedard comes along and you go, whoa. With that ultra whippy stick that he has and the way he's learned to utilize it. Has anybody ever timed his snapshots? Because the way it comes off the stick, the velocity is very much like that of a great slap shot. I hate to leave that out. I had concerns about him. If we're talking about this last year, he kind of scuffled at times last year, but he's come out of the gate so well. And with that release, he would be the one specialty guy, because I don't love him defensively, where Macklin Celebrini's more of a two-way guy. He'll get you the points. He can also be on the right side of the puck for you. I'd like to see them find a room for those two over a Konechny Cirelli combination or a Mark Stone. You think about Mark Stone.
Well, there's 3.
Some of these decisions.
There's 3 that won't be there.
Yeah, I think this situation with Stone, that reminds you that the odds of the Four Nations face-off Team Canada roster all being healthy at the same time in February are probably not that great. So there'll be opportunity that comes just from guys being dinged up, I think. So I'd like to see the 2 young guys get there and a few changes here and there, but also cognizant of the fact that it's tough to mess with a winning formula.
Yeah, no, you're bang on too. That plays into it. Coaches trust, right? We talk about trust all the time with the Senators and decisions that Travis Green makes, particularly with his blue line this year, as to who plays and who doesn't. It's the coach has trust in you. And while there are players like Brandon Hagel and Matthew Cirelli and some of these Tampa guys that John Cooper has trust, or John Cooper trusts, I don't know that their play warrants them even being in the conversation when you get right down to the bottom choice of these are the 14 forwards. I don't know that. I think some guys drop off the list, and you just mentioned you added Stone to that. You're coming up with even more names that are questionable, Steve. So now there's even more. We're going to have to devote a whole show to just this roster and figure out who we think is in and who we think is out, because there's other guys out there for sure. going to be fun. I just can't wait. Like all these preamble, like get over with the preamble. Let's just start the darn thing. We're going to wait till February to see this. If there is even going to be a rink. Have you seen those stories? There's trouble of the rink even being built and completed on time. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a fact check there. It's Anthony Cirelli, not Matthew Cirelli.
Yeah.
That's great. Just want to make sure I got that in. And the rink situation's not great. I wish they'd put the Olympics in places that have existing arenas, maybe, and spend that money on something more productive. But that's just me. That's just me, maybe. So yeah, it's going to be great, and I certainly don't mind talking about the Olympics. It's what I want to talk about in this show is things that matter to Ottawa sports fans. Most of the time, it's Sens hockey, and but Sens fans certainly are going to be Team Canada fans and all about the Olympics. So we'll talk a lot about the Olympics moving forward. Not to mention the odd, dalliance into other leagues like, Ottawa Red Blacks. They've got themselves a new coach and general manager in Ryan Dinwiddie. We're going to have guests on from the Ottawa Charge. So, all over the map with things that matter to Ottawa sports fans, and I'm sure you're on board with that.
Of course, buddy. We're talking sports. Well, who could ask for anything more?
Yeah. Maybe we'll even get going on some golf before long. Because I don't mind talking golf, particularly in the heart of winter.
Anyway. I'm in.
Okay, so that will do it for this week's show. Since we last got together, the Sens have they lost to LA 1-0. They beat Boston 5-3. They lost to Dallas 3-2, and I'm sure this was in the last episode or not, but they beat Utah 4-2, I believe was the score. And now they're off in the 7-game roadie, which starts on Thursday of this week when they take on the Anaheim Ducks. Yeah, that's another reason for Scott Harrington to join the fray, because he last played in the NHL for the Anaheim Ducks. He can show them all the good spots. But yeah, it's Thursday in Anaheim, then San Jose, then LA, and then going from there. And they don't play another home game now until December the 4th.
Crazy.
So, be a lot of TV watching and lots of great Sens action all the same coming up. And with that, we'll take our leave. Unless there's anything else, Greg. Unless there's anything else.
Well, I look forward to Anaheim, folks. You might want to try to stay up late that night and catch some Anaheim game, because they are a very, very good team.
San Jose's better too. They've been the dregs of the NHL for a while now, but they got a lot of good young talent there that's starting to percolate, led by Macklin, Celebrini, and of course the LA Kings after that. We just saw what they're about. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle 2 LA King games so close together. What a difference from last year. On Thanksgiving last year, the Sens and Kings in Ottawa played an 8-7 overtime game. The Sens won. Josh Norris with the winner. Just 1 year later, they go from a 15-goal explosion to one. And even that one was a lucky one. So things have changed. Anyway, let's wrap things up. Thanks for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. Our website is sensnationhockey.com. Please check out the hockey news. I'm the site editor over there at the Ottawa Senators site, and that is thn.com/Ottawa. All kinds of cool articles about your Ottawa Senators there. Thanks to CJRO Radio for airing this out in the east end of Ottawa on 107 FM. And thank you for being with us. We shall talk to you in our next episode. Thanks, Greg.
See you, buddy. Thanks.